welcome back to Sna's Advice. I know in my last video I had said that I was going to talk about anxiety and depression, but I'm actually going to talk a little bit about COVID. So when I say we, me and my mom had COVID, and I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about like our COVID experiences. So let's go ahead and get straight into the video. So back in December of 2020, we both, me and my mom, both had COVID. It was pretty intense. So my mom first had the symptoms, and then I had them. My mom works in a preschool, or a school, well, preschool. And I guess in the preschool, she must have caught some of the symptoms because she actually got it way before I did. She lost her taste and smell, but she never told me. And she realized when she was really tired and just had a lot of headaches, she's like, okay, I need to go get tested. So she went to CVS, which, by the way, if you guys are looking for COVID testing, CVS is doing it for free. You just have to go on their website and they can test it for free. Without your insurance, you just put if you have your insurance, put in your insurance information and they can do it for free. If you don't have insurance, I think they charge like $200 or something. I checked that up, which is ridiculous, but this is how they're doing it. So I'll go back. So she actually got tested on a Wednesday. It was December. Let me look. I have my phone, so let me just look and see. I can't remember the dates. I think it was December. Give me 1 second. The week of December 7th. She got tested, came back positive. She didn't go into work, and then on the 9th, and then on the 10th, I started showing symptoms. The only thing is in the beginning, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just a sinus infection because I've always had sinus infections. I had a stuffy nose, a headache, a sore throat, and that's usually, for me, it's a sinus infection. So I called the doctor. They weren't doing in-person appointments. They're only doing virtual. So I did the virtual appointment, and I couldn't talk to my doctor. I had to talk to the nurse practitioner, and the nurse practitioner actually said that that it might be sinus infection. She's not even sure, but she prescribed me a Z-Pak. So I took that over the weekend. I started Thursdays, started on Thursday. I was a little bit okay on Thursday, had slept well. Woke up Friday, and I woke up with a fever. I was sweating profusely, and I'm like, okay, I have a fever because I was chills, and I was feeling, really bad chills. And so I said, okay, let me check my temperature, which I had a thermometer, so I checked it. It was 100, I think it was 100.1. And then it was, when I took Tylenol, it would come down. It would go back up. So it was fluctuating, but it wasn't breaking. If that made sense. That was over the weekend. I didn't really eat much. I was just putting stuff to eat. I was feeling hungry, but I was also feeling a little low because I was, sick. But I wasn't eating much. But like I said, I would eat food just to make myself feel better. And so I actually, what happened? Yeah, I was eating, and then finally, that happened over the weekend, and I was really stressed, so I just called the on-call doctor and just be like, is there anything else we can do? What else can we do? And he's like, you just have to ride it out, which I tried doing, but I couldn't. Come Sunday, I was walking up the stairs, because we have a 2-story house. I was walking up the stairs to my bedroom, and I was really, shortness of breath, more than, I was breathing very heavily, more than usual. And it just wasn't, it took about a good minute to 2 minutes for my breathing to come into control. Usually when I'm breathing heavily, it takes not even 5 seconds. But this time it took a really long time, and that scared me. So that happened Sunday, and then I just slept, and I woke up with the fever. Monday morning when I woke up, in the middle of the night, Sunday to Monday, I ended up throwing up. And that was another sign. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. And Monday, I had a, I did, sorry, I had a test for COVID to get it done over at CVS. And I went and got it done. It was, I mean, I got it done. It came back positive, but I got it done that Monday. I had my breakfast, I had lunch, or somewhat of a lunch, and I didn't eat anything after that. So I was feeling really tired, and I still had shortness of breath. I still had my fever, and I was just like, I've got to do something. Something's not right. So I actually called call doctor after 5 o'clock, and they prescribed me, or he prescribed me an inhaler because I was telling him I'm feeling shortness. You know, my chest is like congested, and it's just I'm feeling like shortness of breath, like asthma, and he prescribed me an inhaler. So the inhaler, I went and picked it up, and the inhaler, I did the inhaler, but it didn't work. So that night, I ended up driving myself to urgent care. I said, I just got to go to urgent care. So I ended up driving myself to urgent care. They told me on the phone it was going to be a 2.5 hour wait. So I was like, I'll just go right out the wait. You know, I'll just go and sit there and just wait. When I walked in to the urgent care, they noticed that I was symptomatic. I was showing all the signs of COVID. So I had shortness of breath, literally everything. Shortness of breath, diarrhea, and I'm just being open. Shortness of breath, diarrhea, vomiting, nauseation, headaches, tiredness, everything. I didn't lose taste or smell. So that was the difference between me and my mom. My mom lost taste and smell, and she had everything, and she didn't lose anything else. I didn't lose taste or smell, and I had all the other symptoms. So if that makes sense. So I get into the urgent care, and they put me straight into a room, and the nurse, one of the nurses or the medical assistants, said I have that they need to bring the nurse in. The nurse came in. The nurse said she said, you have COVID. We need to send you to the hospital because you're shortness of breath and you've got other health issues, which I'm not going to get into. And I just was like, okay. So I ended up going, so they actually called the EMT to the hospital. The hospital took me to the nearest hospital. I mean, the EMT took me to the nearest hospital here in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia. And so when I got to the hospital, it was about a 45-minute wait till we get to the room. And that's when it was really more of a waiting game when I got to the hospital. It took about 45 minutes. They didn't really have a TV much. I wasn't going to get on my phone. I didn't have my headphones. I had my phone, but I didn't have my headphones. So I was like, that's okay. I'm not going to waste my time. I just want to sit there and just be relaxed, just wait for the room. And so I ended up in a room after 45 minutes. It was the middle of the night, probably around, I want to say at that point it was almost 12 o'clock. And I didn't eat anything, so I went into the room and I asked the nurse, I said, is there anything I can eat? Because I haven't eaten since 3 o'clock. It's been almost over 9 hours. And they're like, no, we need to run tests on you. We need to make sure you're doing okay. And I said, okay. So they did a CT chest scan because they didn't know what was going on. They wanted to make sure there was no fluids in my lungs or in my chest, And they asked me to put my hands up, and I couldn't do it, because I was like, anytime I raised my hands, it would hurt my chest, and I couldn't do it. So they also realized it was COVID at that point as well. So when I went back to the room, I needed to go to the bathroom. I couldn't go to the bathroom because whenever I walked, it would be too, I would lose my breath. So I came back to the room. They put a a bedside toilet, I guess it's a bedpan, I think it's called, but it was a sitting bedpan, that's what it was called. They put that in my room thinking, okay, she can get up and probably try to do that, but even getting out of the bed and walking 2 steps, I couldn't. I was really bad in my breathing and whatnot. The doctor came in. He said so actually, sorry, let me back up, sorry. After all that had happened, the nurses came back in, and they did a COVID test at the hospital as well. and that took like 2 hours. So once I came back positive, they finally said, okay, you are COVID positive. So I said, okay. And I had pneumonia as well, which I've never had pneumonia, and that was the first time in my whole life I've had pneumonia. So we had so I had pneumonia as well. I sorry, I ended up being COVID positive. I got 2 tests, and the one at CVS said positive, and this one said positive. So so that happened. And then sorry, I'm losing. And then, yeah, and then the doctor came in. One of the doctors came in, and I said, he'd asked me, how am I doing? I said, I'm okay, but I haven't eaten. Is there something I can eat? And he's like, yeah, we can get you some food. When they say get you some food, it was crackers and juice. Literally, that was all I had. And he said, do you want me to give you something to relax you? Because he knew I had anxiety, and it wasn't fun. I should mention, when I was at the ER, I broke down because I didn't know. I've heard so many stories about COVID. If you got underlying health issues, you could die. I had a lot of stuff going on. Or COVID, a lot of anxiety about that. So I ended up, so flashing forward to the doctor coming into the room, he said, he's like, I know you have anxiety, and you're going through your anxiety stuff, and do you want me to give you something a little to relax you? I said, yeah, if you could, like anything. He's like, have you taken like Xanax or Valium? I said, I think I've taken a Valium before, but whatever works, I'm okay with that. So he ended up, sorry, I had a phone call. So he ended up giving me the anxiety medication. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. So that helped me sleep. I had breakfast the next day, and I was fine. There was another doctor that came in and said, that asked me if, another doctor that came in and kind of talked to me, and he said, why don't we go ahead and get you the blood transfusion and the antibodies? And I said, okay, let's do that. And he said, he explained what it was. He said the blood transfusion is just anybody that's had COVID from the hospital. They obviously draw blood. They make sure it's clean, no HIV, no health issues with that blood. And I said, okay. And the antibodies help to fight against COVID again, whenever you get it, if you get it again, or if you don't, So I got that done when I was in the hospital. And yeah, it was, so now I asked the doctor, I said, how long will I be here? And he's like, you shouldn't be here more than a week. And I actually ended up staying a week in the hospital. That was fine. I felt fine. I told my dad, who lives in California, he was worried. He wanted to come to Georgia. And I said, no, just stay home, because there's no point in you coming. You have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and you can't even come to the hospital to see me. It doesn't make sense. I told all my family members in California. One of my aunts, she called me. Actually, both my aunts. There's a few aunts that called me. I couldn't get to everybody's phone calls, so it was just hard. But one of my aunts called me, and she asked me, or she made sure that I was doing okay. And she actually said, what did she say? She said, she started crying, and I said, and I didn't say don't cry, but I said, I'm okay. I'm in the best care of hands. I've got doctors and nurses and everybody around me, so I'll be okay. Because I was, and so we kind of, it was hard. When I was in the hospital, I thought I was going stir crazy, because it was just indoors, and I couldn't go out the door because they wouldn't let you go out the door, because you just can't. And so I would just keep praying to God, or, whichever, I prayed to God. And, my spiritual group that I had talked about, in my previous video, and then also in my tags and all that, they actually did a lot of prayers for me and my mom both, but of course for me as well, for both of us. Anytime they would do like spiritual talks that we do it weekly, they would have everybody hop on about 10 minutes earlier and do some prayers, if that makes sense. And they prayed. So they did that for 7 days straight, and it just really helped. So it got me my energy back and for me to be better, you know. Sorry, I'm just checking the time, making sure we're doing good. So yeah, it was quite a bit of an experience. Being in the hospital, the first couple of days were hard. When I was there, you know, I couldn't get out of bed because I just couldn't get up, and they had to put a bedpan underneath me, so I would have to go in the bedpan. One day, I was going in the bedpan, and it took them 45 minutes to come back to the room and wipe me down there. Well, wipe me. I mean, just I'm not wipe me. Sorry. Well, yeah, wipe me, and also just take the bedpan away. And I felt really embarrassed because I know I can go to the bathroom myself and do all my, you know, do everything myself. I Yeah, that was one experience. The next one was because I was in the ICU and then they put me in a general room, which was like in the basement, and it was like two rooms combined into one, and I felt like I was like in, I think the movie Split, I think it's called, with Bruce Willis, where you're like, where one of the patients were just in a room all alone. I felt that's how I was, you know. The doctor who was down in the general ward, he was he was nice, but he also was just a little weird. So he would just say, "Oh yeah, we'll let you get to go home today. We'll let you get to go home the next day." You know, every day he'll say that. Well, Sunday comes around, and this was almost the second to last day I was there. Sunday comes around, and I was like, "Can I go home today?" And he's like, "No, we have protocols," which I maybe that's what it is. I don't know the protocols in any hospitals, so maybe that's what it was. But I'm like, okay, well, can I not get to go home? And he's like, well, no, we just want to keep you one more day, make sure you're doing okay. We might keep you in a couple extra days. And I was like, no, I want to go home. You know, I don't, that's not what it's supposed to be. And I called my mom, and my mom talked to the doctor, and the doctor's like, okay, we'll let her go home tomorrow. Well, I mean, I think at that point, yeah, I think he said we'll let her go home. I don't know what day, but we'll let her go home. Because my mom was like, well, just send her with, you know, extra oxygen if we need it or anything. And that's what they did. They sent us with extra, they sent me with extra oxygen. One of the nurses on Sunday, because they change the nurses every day, one of the nurses on Sunday had said, you know, I'm going to tell the doctor. He had said, I'll tell the doctor that you want to go home today, or I mean, that you need to go home tomorrow, because he's like, you're fine. You're walking around. Your oxygen seems fine. Everything seems fine. And I said, okay. He's like, when the doctor comes in tomorrow, you tell the doctor you want to go home. Just say, I want to go home. You know, don't say when can I go home. Say you want to go home. And he said, I'll send a message. I'll send him a text message, light a fire up his butt, and get him to send you to go home. And I said, okay. So the next day, Monday comes in, and he's like, I talked to him and I asked him, can I go home? Or no, I didn't say can I go home. I said I want to go home. I don't want to be here during the holidays. That's what the nurse had said. The nurse said, you don't need to be here during the holidays. You need to be home with your family during the holidays. So the doctor had said, I had told the doctor, I said, I want to go home today. And he's like, okay, we'll discharge you. We'll let you go home. So I get to come home. I finally was able to go home. And I think that was the best thing that happened. I mean, the best thing in the sense I got to go home. So yeah, I mean, that's my experience with COVID, just kind of what I went through, my symptoms, what I was, all my symptoms were. So if you guys have any questions or anything, go to the CDC website, and I'll link all the CDC website in the description below. And go there and and just see what COVID's about. Everybody thinks they might have had it some time throughout the year, and I'm pretty sure everybody has. We just don't know. But yeah, definitely. And if you feel like you have any symptoms or anything, please contact your general doctor, your primary care, and they can help you out. For the most part, they can. If not, definitely just go to urgent care and they can kind of take it from there, But that's the end of this video. I'm going to conclude it here. Yeah, if you have any other questions or concerns, just like I said, go ahead and contact your primary care. But I'll conclude the video here, and please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.